what is the proper name for it? I know you have the Diamond Stackz Classic, which is the actual game, like the event. So what is the name of the organization?
Yes, the organization name is Diamond Stackz Organization. So the Diamond Stackz Organization is nonprofit.
Okay.
So it's been kind of like, we started off as just the Diamond Stackz Classic, right? So we were trying to raise money for the funeral, and so that in itself, the organization grew after the term. So in our minds, we didn't start off like, boom, we want a nonprofit.
Okay. It is. So it was born from the idea of.
It was born for a need.
For the need of this funeral.
Yeah.
Okay.
To pay off his funeral costs. Like, nobody's big into life. Nobody knew about life insurance, or like Eric was young when he passed away, so nobody was thinking about it. And as a black, our community just needs to be more aware of life happens. Yeah. So yeah, it stemmed off of that basketball tournament. And so Diamond Stackz was Eric's like rapper name. That's like, you know what I mean? Eric was doing pretty good. He was on the radio. Like,
I remember he was on 103.9.
He was on 103.9.
Catch me in the whip, 230 on the dash. All yellow diamonds kinda looking like a cab. Looking in the mirror, knowing why these boys mad. Cause I'm young with a swag, with the suns like a mask.
But now, like, he was coming up. This is 6 years ago. So like, he was actually like going, like he was doing like school tours. So he was doing his due diligence, like in that community of like how to become like a rapper, I guess, essentially. So we took the Diamond Stackz, took that name, and we put it on the tournament. So from there, so we did the Diamond Stackz Classic, the tournament at Jehovah, 2015, 2014. And so when we did that, he was like, dang, like, this is actually, it took a lot of work, and we put it on in 3 days. But like, this is something we think we can continue to do. We got a lot of support, community support, and it was like the first time that we were able to see like all of us in one setting, like younger generation of people we hadn't seen in years, and people that still live in something that we hadn't seen in years. You know what I mean? So it was like, if we can do this every year, it just allows us to pour into our community.
I wanted to touch on like your personal like childhood. So how was it? I know your grandfather was a big figure in your life, but you also had your parents at home. So how was the dynamic between being raised by your parents, and you used to have a sister? So what was that like for you growing up?
Yeah, like my mom, my granddad is a pastor at like a prominent church in Sumter, in South Sumter, which is. I grew up. My mom was a principal. Yeah. She was in education. My dad worked in factories. Like he was like a supervisor, stuff like that. So my mom was like a prominent figure in my life. Because I don't know if she was an educator. You know what I mean? But she was an educator while I was at the school, elementary school. Like I think 3rd grade she started. So like I always had that like chip on my shoulder. Like, dang, I'm this new divine son. Like that could work for me, but that could be really bad for me. So I always
saved us a lot of things.
Yeah,
that's
facts. You know what I mean? And certain people didn't even realize. Like, I know my mom was talking to somebody today, and I didn't even realize that was my mom. This girl's a teacher now. She works somehow with us. But growing up with them, I mean, I was always around my granddad growing up. Like he would go to revivals or like tent revivals outside. Going to people's houses. So he taught me. My granddad is a key figure because he taught me how to be a person, like be a man, essentially. Like I remember going out of town. He had to go to a meeting, and he was like, you need to pay for this meal. Like, all right. He left me a check. I'm like 12 years old, and I had to figure out how to write a check when I was 12. He's like, yeah, just fill that out. Like, I barely know how to write in cursive. You know what I mean? And so like he would do things like that where he wouldn't tell me something. He would give me enough information where I had to just figure it out myself. And so, I mean, I realized I am blessed and privileged to have a support system that was just like Ghost Girl, like do what you want to do. You know what I mean? So that has allowed me to continue doing on to the goals I have now. And it's kind of allowed me to see that our ministry, that our organization is to provide people a support system like I have. You know what I mean? So growing up in Sumter, I mean, I saw the ins and outs. I was able to see, I was able to be around a diverse crowd. You know what I mean? I grew grew up with some high, with debates and all that stuff like that. And so like I had a lot of like friends that did well, did prominent things. I had a lot of friends that didn't quite reach the goals they wanted to reach. And so I think always being in South Sumter pretty often, like I got to meet guys that who were willing to get out of their predicaments that just didn't know how to do it quite yet. You know what I mean? So like I think I was blessed and just like privileged enough to see, I guess, both sides of the, I guess you call like the road, whatever. You know what I mean? So like
it's literally over the bridge.
It's literally over the bridge.
Both sides of the
time. Yeah. I mean, the only difference between like somebody like me who like continued on the goals is literally like I had a support system that was encouraging, and maybe somebody else didn't just have that same opportunity. You know, they just grew up differently. So yeah, I mean, I think growing up with something and when I moved away, was able to leave back, I was like, all right, I love this town because of our grit, you know what I mean? Like when you're from Sumter, like you tell it, you say it proud. And other people from Sumter like, oh dang, you from Sumter? Like, oh, that's tough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just kind of how people, that's just what they think about us. But like moving away, I was like, yo, we can do more, we can do better. You know what I mean? The things that happen now doesn't have to happen. We can take some precautions. We can, as a community, we can come together and be stronger voices. So,
yeah, man. And you mentioned as far as the support system that you had. So, with your organization, when you say providing the same thing for other people, is it more so same system of, hey, this is what you need to do, go do it, or is it just the concept of, hey, you have people that you can rely on for advice, or is it?
Yeah. So like even right now, so our organization started off when it first started as a nonprofit. It started off as a scholarship fund because we was like, all right, we were raising money and we just wanted. It was a scholarship fund for student athletes. Eric was a student athlete, so we were just trying to give back to students that we give like we raised like $4,000. I think altogether about $8,000 by the time we got done with that scholarship fund. So we just wanted to be able to send students off. You know, maybe cover some books for them, maybe cover some travel or stuff like that. So small things we weren't able to cover. So that was cool. But we, at the Fed Day, that was the last time. We came together before the Fed Day, that was the last time we came together as a committee. So it's not just me, it's Asia Black, who's a co-founder, and she does like a lot of secretary work. She does like a lot of the back, all the paper stuff. Yeah, it goes through Asia.
My name is Asia Black, and for the Diamond Stackz Organization, I am the co-founder and the co-director. So I do more of administrative communications type of things, also handle like registration and making sure that the tournament and the mentor program runs smoothly.
So now that you are, it's the seventh classic, the 6th year in. Mm-hmm. What has the process been like now as far as reaching out to young people, young men and young women throughout the city and throughout the state? What's the mindset now going forward, now that it's gone from just trying to help a friend and his family to reaching out to the community? What's the main focus for yourself and for the group as a whole?
I guess the main focus for myself, and I can honestly say this myself, like, you know, speaking for myself, is that my goal is just to continue growing as a person. Because I can honestly say that I am not who I was 6 years ago. And I don't want to say, sometimes I joke around, I'd be like, thanks, it's the trauma. But it's not the trauma. It's just having to kind of like have a realization so quickly and have something that kind of holds you accountable has definitely made me a more mature person, made me a more organized person. So my goal with the tournament is to continue, you know, personally growing, but then also being able to reach back. And I know that's also the goal of the tournament as well. And everyone that's a part of the committee is we're all from Sumter. Whether we were, you know, the bestest of friends with Eric or we're not. So we know Sumter, we know the community of Sumter, we know what resources are available, we know what's not available. We know the mentorship we wish we would have had it and what we didn't get. And it's not saying that it wasn't there, but we weren't made aware of it. So with us and, you know, the location that we usually pick, which is Sumter High or the first one at the MH Newton Family Life Center, just keeping it in Sumter, we hope that it would inspire people kind of give them a sense of hope that us now, I want to say kids, but we're not kids anymore. We're adults. I'm 25 years old. It's crazy.
It's hard to think of, like, wrap your head around that sometimes.
It's so hard, but just being an adult and knowing where you're from and seeing kids still being raised in the environment, and it just makes you want to do more. It makes you want to give more. And I personally think the most valuable thing that you can give somebody is time. So with the tournament, we take time. I mean, like, you see the event for 2 days or 1 day, but the process behind it and all the Zoom calls and meetings and the phone calls, that's the time that we put into it. And the day of and the day before, the day after, when we're setting up, executing and debriefing about it, constantly building, constantly reaching out. There was a point in time with the tournament where we would have to explain ourselves every time. We'd say, oh, we have a basketball tournament. They'd be like, oh, what do you do? And then we have to give them a whole spiel. Like, okay, well, this is how it started, and this is what we do, and this is what we want to do, and you can help. And people be like, we don't know now. But now it's to the point where we can say it, or somebody will see the emblem or the symbol, and they're like, we already know what that's about. So, we want to spread the word more. On the higher levels of it, we still have to do some explaining because, that's just how Sumter is. But the response that we get from people now in Sumter lets us know that we're headed on the right path. So we just keep going, progression.
And I think that's one of the really important things that you all have been able to do with the program in itself, is to be able to continue to reach people. I know a lot of times, just growing up in Sumter, a lot of friends that I would have, some of us were very academically gifted, some of us were athletically gifted, and then sometimes there's people in the middle that they don't necessarily stand out in one area,
right? But
they still have worth, but they don't always see it. Sometimes they can feel invisible. Sometimes they can feel like they don't have anybody that's really seeing them for what they are or who they are. And I feel like in circumstances like this, it's important to continue to reach out and to help people like that. And I think that, especially with us growing up, that we saw a lot of our friends that kind of fell by the wayside because of things like that. Do you have any experiences from working with the young men or young women that have been able to kind of help them to get guidance, or just to help them to feel as though they're important?
I think we do that with the tournament, because even though it's for Eric, we try to do spotlights. We try to give people, clips, not saying that this clip is going to land in the hands of a recruiter and you're going D1 and you're going to the league, not necessarily that, but just a place to come showcase your talent, because each year we have high schoolers and then we have older adults that come out, and you're able, this is a day where you to just ball out, no pun intended, literally just a ball out. Personally, I've had people come up to me and kind of tell me that they admire what I'm doing. Just as a woman, I don't play basketball. I'm not a basketball at all. Like, I've always wanted to play basketball, but that's just not the gift God gave me, and I'd be a fool if I got out on the court. But people have come up to me and they're just kind of like, we love what you're doing. You're making a positive impact in here. It's nice to see a woman, in this type of area running a basketball tournament, and I don't ever do anything for the recognition, but it's always good to be seen. Everyone likes to be seen. A good thank you is always going to take you like a long way, make your day. So hopefully now with this mentorship program, we'll have a lot more success stories. The way that we're trying to map this out is to whereas it's just Sumter, the youth of Sumter will benefit greatly from what we're working towards. So
we have Dwayne Cowles, does all like the media stuff, social media thing. Dwayne has his own like Wayne's World channel. Dwayne got like the post of like the youth in our like state now. You know what I mean? Like, people know Wayne's World. The kids love Wayne's World. So like Wayne does a good job of pulling. We've always had good basketball teams come through the tournament, but he gives a good job like pulling prominent players like John Morant got to play, and like we got a host of D1s, D2s, JUCOs that all like we really sat down and listed down like their accolades. Like, our tournament pulls in the same thing as like a Chick-fil-A Classic pulling in Columbia. You know what I mean? That's a national. Everybody in the world Williams and Coach K knows about that. And so Wayne's been a key point of continuing to grow our tournament. And then we got Devin Todd, If Ty came in, went school with us as well. I call him our bracketologist. Me, I was a basketball player, so I didn't know how to run no. I knew how to play basketball, but I didn't know how to run no tournament. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know. You know what I mean? Like that's a science to how you run a tournament. And so Evan is over the brackets and how that breaks down. So like he's the day of like managing the tournament. And so we got a committee of us, so everybody has their part in the role. And me, I just came in as the communicator. I'm able to pull people together, kind of just get things rolling. I'm like the liaison essentially.
Yeah.
And so now when you're saying back to like what do we do as an organization, like how we building that support system. So now we're doing a mentor program. And so we were supposed to have, due to the virus, we had to postpone some things, but we were gonna have essentially like a lock-in. And so the mentor program is like a peer-to-peer development type of thing. And so it's kind of a newer idea of mentoring. Like growing up, like you hear a lot of things from older folks, which is cool. Like, but does it stick? I don't know. Probably not. Probably like retrospectively.
Yeah.
Like by the time you hit that thing that it happens.
I had that same thing in my life. A lot of mentors that I had that wanted me to say, hey, just stick with this. You'll get this trade. You'll get here. At the time, like, it sounds great, but you don't say no. You never say no.
You're respectful.
But it's like, okay, you kind of go through the motions, but after a while, you're like, I'm going to go ahead and do my own thing. You don't say no thank you, or you don't even say it to yourself, no, I'm not going to do that. You just don't end up doing it. You just follow whatever you want to do.
You follow when you're younger, you follow the crowd, unless you're a special person, or you know what I mean, or kind of most people might follow that crowd. Mm-hmm. And so we came in knowing, sitting back, I got a few leadership things that I know myself, and other people that I know are just stronger leaders than I am, that I grew up in the community. And I'm not saying like somebody who went off to college. I mean like dudes that like still in our community I would go hoop with, you know what I'm saying, I would see at the shop or at the barber shop, stuff like that. So that I pulled in pieces from them and kind of like helped groom me and enhance me. So what we wanted to do as a mentor program was bringing those same guys that were like, a few years older than me, kind of younger guys. They went off to play basketball. That probably didn't work out for them. They went off to school and they came back to Sumter. They're coaches now in the community, and we wanted to have them as mentors. And what we are engaging in is we would teach high schoolers how to be leaders, right, or mentors, and then those high schoolers would mentor the middle schoolers. So that's why you have the peer-to-peer engagement.
Yeah, it just keeps trickling down.
Yeah, it trickles down. So like when you were in middle school, I know for me personally, the high school seniors at Sumter High or Crestwood, I'm like, dang, like these dudes, you got some weight. When you looked at like an athlete when you were in middle school to high school, and they gotta realize like their influence is heavy. Yeah. So in Sumter, we got an issue with accountability. We got an issue with like, I'm just gonna live my life and not be told nothing. But when you got somebody who's mentoring you, a peer that genuinely cares about you, when they see you messing up in the street, or they see you messing up, at this part of the crib, they able to not call you out, but they hold you to a certain standard that you're not really supposed to be doing.
Next up, I did want to discuss was the actual like driving force behind the Diamond Stackz Organization, which is Eric Wright. And that's one of your close friends. So just kind of tell like a good background about Eric. And I know you said he was an aspiring rapper. We heard him on the radio here, student athlete.
Yeah.
What are some other like the deeper things about him?
Yeah, I mean, I met Eric like freshman, sophomore year at Sumter High. Of course, he played basketball. Eric was from like New Jersey, right? Yeah. And so Eric was real close with one of my other friends, Sonny. Yeah. And Vontae is a group of other guys. So
yeah, I remember all that.
Yeah, they were like brothers. Like they were the core. And that was something that I could never, you know what I mean? Like we know somebody got their own core, like you could never touch that. I mean, so they was very close. And so growing up, we played basketball together, we hooped together, we would hang out together. And so me and Eric got real close. Like our senior year mostly. My junior year I was hurt, so Eric got to play some more as well. Senior we grew, because Eric was like the positive one. Like no matter what, Eric was like saying something positive. And we were at a time where we were playing with a tough coach. JoJo English was like, dude, was like the strictest coach we ever had, coming from the coach we had before. Like mentally, he taught us mentality. Like he could coach the sorriest team ever, and the boys would win some games, easily. he's done it. I mean,
I remember the stuff I did.
Yeah.
It was not always.
It wasn't always, yeah. And so, but like, so that was a tough time for us because we were just coaches our senior year, all this stuff. But like Eric, man, people ask about Eric, they know about his smile, and they just know how he carried himself. You know what I'm saying? Eric, like rapping is just where like he like expressing himself. I mean, he was young, so everybody had their avenues of expressing themselves.
Wave is getting famous, having people looking up to you, that's amazing. But I'm closer to my dream, closer to my cream. Have you ever had a girl you transform into a queen? Yeah, I had that, and I even bought a ring, but I opened up my eyes, and it's never how I sing.
So like, you know, when Eric had like a really good senior year, like he was like I think he won Region Player of the Year, like for our region. And so he got to the North-South game, you know, he had all these accolades, and then we got to play something together our summer. We played on the AU team, we traveled together a few tournaments. So like, but Eric was like goal driven. Like if you look back on his Twitter, like his Instagram, like 2015, he was saying posts about his goals, reaching his goals, like, you know, fighting for his dreams. Like he was saying all this stuff prior to like the dream chaser thing even starting. You know what I mean? So like Eric was always about the next step, the next phase. Like I still got messages from him like on my Twitter, like, you know, like we just talking about life. You know what I mean? Just talking about like what we're gonna do next with the game, how coach was chirping at practice, stuff like that. But Eric always had a positive mindset. I think when he passed away, I think that's what threw people off. He's like, all right.
I remember it threw something high in a whirlwind.
Yeah, dude, community whirlwind, because he passed away Labor Day weekend, 2015. He passed away. We was all in a frenzy, especially his teammate. It's like one of those people who talk about energy, it kind of rubs up on you. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't gonna be like some people. You can soak in the negative energy with certain people because they just as negative as you are. Like yeah, that sucks too. Like they feeding off you. But Eric, like you want to come with him with that energy because you knew he always had something positive to get you to the next point. And so when he passed away, like I got to meet his family. His mom was always been a sweet lady, right? And she was probably the strongest woman besides my mom, my grandma, that I probably had seen who could deal with death, who could deal with his family, who could deal with like the financial issues. So like we were all packed up in this apartment, like 25 boys deep, because we didn't know what to do with ourselves. All we knew was like we just wanted to be around each other. You know what I mean? Some of us took it hard, and I was like, I remember we couldn't reach something for a few days. He just didn't really know how to handle it. You know, for me, abrupt death, I guess I took that as an initiative. I'm a go person. When something happens, like when this virus happened, I'm on go. I'm like, yo, what can I do for the boys in the community? Like, how can I help them? I mean, how can we get them the resources they need, stuff like that. So when Eric passed away, I was like, yo, it's kind of the same mindset. It was like, I guess I gotta try to get these boys to the next point, past this phase in our life. And so I was one of the older ones, and like the younger boys were dealing pretty tough. And I remember him crying like a lot. You know what I mean? Like the younger guys, that just sticks out to me. But for those like a few days before the funeral, like the emotions were just running rapid. We were trying to find money for his funeral. You know what I'm saying? We were all hanging out with each other. I remember coaches coming through. I just remember his mom just being a rock, like even now. Like so we would never be able to do what we're doing now without the support of his mom and his family. Because they could easily be like, nah, we good on this. We don't want this to come up every year like we got a reminder of my son passing away. I mean, she could have easily been like, Sterling, you know, this was cool. We're thankful that you put on this event for Eric and our family to raise money, but we're good on that. But nah, she was like, she would come to us like, you know, she knew that this was our way of releasing whatever emotions that we had, or, you know, to talk about that, or talk about life. Because essentially what we're talking about is not death anymore. We're talking about life. We're talking about like legacy building.
After that first time, it's not just about death. Then it was for the funeral, but every time after that, it's about celebration of life and what you can do.
Yeah. Exactly.
on out.
Like we had his funeral at something high, so now we're hosting a tournament every year in the same grounds that we held his funeral. That's now about empowering boys beyond their now, like helping them see their future type of thing. And so I'm grateful for his mom, his family, his sister. They're all like strong women. I don't know if I could have done the same. You know what I mean? So I think his death, like, even it allowed me to engage in like being a leader. You know what I'm saying? Doing this nonprofit work with for his other friends. I think it helped them see their goals beyond like something, or beyond like what we're doing at that one point. So I think it had a ripple effect on everybody. I always had a heart to help people, but I think now it gave me like a mission in the ministry. I could take Eric's name and continue to propel it, continue to like reach people beyond his death. And now Eric's been passed away about 6 years, about 5, I guess going on 6 this year. Yeah. And so like now there's kids that don't even know it. They didn't know Eric personally, but know Eric through the Diamond Stackz Classic. You know what I mean? Beyond his death. We got generations. Like now my nephew, and he's at the tournament now. You know what I mean? Now we got kids. Eric's daughter. Eric had a daughter that he wasn't able to see. Right? So, and he always talked highly about. I remember before he passed away, like I remember him texting me, calling me. Not to put so much information out, but I remember him calling me. Like he was just trying to figure out how can he continue to provide for his family. Yeah. And so I remember being up in North Carolina, like, yo, we'll figure it out. Like, we're gonna do this. I know you can provide your daughter because like that's just how he is. And so like, I think even for his daughter to see like how much love that we have for her dad, even though she never met her dad, she knows like he must be somebody important. Yeah, there's a whole tournament going on for 6 years, just in my dad's name.